I didn't sign on for this to be a pack mule. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. And, well, we'll take a look at the second core class figure for the 86 wave. This is the one we also have to question, why? We're taking a look this time at Wheelie. Now, of course, many of you will probably be saying that Wheelie's already been done. And yes, Wheelie was already done. We were given this figure for those of us who purchased Studio 86 Grimlock. That way we could display it with Wheelie riding on Grimlock's back, ready to take shots at the Sharkticons. That way they could get annoyed by Wheelie's blasts and then get scared at having to face off at Grimlock. But the question of it being released again is why? Well, the biggest thing that I can figure is that Wheelie that came with Grimlock was static. We really couldn't change anything about him. You know, I mean, the legs can spread apart and the arms can move and we can turn his head. But that's it. We can't do anything else with him. His sole purpose was to be displayed on Grimlock. Because even with the way he stands, he's sitting. And he's going to fall over. So, display potential was next to nil. But then again, how many fans does Wheelie really have? Well, especially after seeing him in Revenge of the Fallen, we certainly know that Megan Fox is no fan of him. At any rate, let's move Wheelie aside, and his backdrop instead is Quintessa. It's some of the outside of Quintessa. Whereas with the Dinobots, they're getting the inside in the courtroom. So all in all, this isn't too bad. But at any rate, we'll throw it aside. And I guess this time around we can also do a comparison sake, because here is Generation 1 Wheelie. It was also a bit back heavy. There we go. The Generation 1 Wheelie, though, has one distinction about him. He was the only one that was released in 1986 of the mini vehicles that was an all-original mold. Everybody else was basically a retool of a previously released figure. So Wheelie kind of stood out, despite the fact that his toy does not resemble how he appeared in the animated film. Let's take a look now at Wheelie's one lone accessory. And I can tell you, folks, this thing's going to get lost easily on people. And it is his slingshot. Even though when I look at it more and more, it kind of reminds me more of the PKE meter from Ghostbusters. Maybe if it was that, Wheelie would be more useful. I don't know. But at any rate, let's take a look at Wheelie's articulation, and as you can probably tell, he has significantly more than either of the two that have passed through here already on camera. You can turn his head from side to side. It is on a small ball joint, so it will look up and down a little. His arms can be raised up about so far, and they do rotate at the shoulder all the way. You can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees. And he does have a swivel at the bicep, so he does have G.I. Joe battle grip. Unfortunately, Wheelie has no waist twisting, so unlike what we see in the movie, he can't dance. You can spread his legs apart into almost a full splits. You can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. And he also has a moving ankle. And his thigh cut, well, it's somewhat there, but in ways it isn't. So, again, nothing to get excited over. Alright, to transform Wheelie, and yes, you can transform this one, unlike the one that came with Grimlock. We come back here behind him. We're going to fold out this the cockpit section a bit from his back. Then we turn around, and we're going to rotate him all the way, rotate his body all the way up, like so. Then we'll turn around, we make sure his head is inside, and then close the canopy. That way he can't talk back to us. Then we turn him back around again. We're going to bring his feet up. Bring the feet and legs up to put him in a seating position for the moment. Because then we're going to fold his feet down. Then you're going to turn his legs at the knee. So that way we can press his legs together and his feet should touch each other. Just exactly like that. Now, of course, once you've done that, you'll see here on his legs there's a couple of holes. Well, those line up with the posts that are here under the hood of the car. So, fold his body down. Make adjustments with the arms as necessary to keep them clear. And snap the body together. Fold his arms to the front so that way they're not in the way. Make sure his arms are totally straight. As you can see, there's a post at the back of his elbow, and that should fit in there. Come back here to the rear of the car and fold this section down. You'll see there's a post protruding from each side, and then there's a little hole here on his arms. That's where they line up. So line them up and get them in. And then there you have it. Wheelie is in his car mode. And if you don't want to take a chance of him losing his slingshot, well, right underneath the trunk of the car, there's a little tiny hole way down in there. You can probably just barely see it. Well, you can attach the slingshot to it. Just stick it in there. Doesn't go in very far, but then again, it doesn't have to, because you can see it's very small, so it will clear the wheels. You see, he does roll. And this is how he looks compared to his Generation 1 counterpart. Quite a considerable difference. So now we get down to my thoughts. The big question still remains of why did Hasbro feel the need to do this? A lot of it is more that Hasbro wants to bleed us for money. I mean, after all, they're working with Disney to put out Marvel and Star Wars figures. And I do hear a lot of the people that are fans of both of those franchises complaining about the excessive costs. This is Hasbro's way of milking us on its own franchises, and we only have them to blame. Guys, Wheelie, they ought to know, is not a popular character by any stretch. And you already gave us a Wheelie the year prior with Grimlock. And you forced us to buy him because you made him come with Grimlock. Because they knew everybody'd buy Grimlock. However, Wheelie was not a necessary character. My only guess is that they decided to have us get one that could be posed. So that way we had other options besides sticking him on the back of a dinosaur. And in this way he does succeed at it. The robot mode is more accurate to how he appeared in the cartoon. So, if that's something that does bother you, then you've got a solution. The only real problem with his alternate mode is the hands are not concealed. So, this is another one that, hey, if you guys bought Grimlock and you got Wheelie with him, you're probably better off. Unless you seriously wanted a Wheelie that can transform. At any rate, that's my review of the Studio 86 version of Wheelie. I hope you all enjoyed it, despite it being Wheelie. And really remember that if you enjoy the content that we feature here on this channel, please do remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.